So as Katja mentioned, I will tell you about more of the learning outcomes, which are one of the most important features in the ECTS framework. So just as in my previous presentation, I will start from the higher up and then move to a smaller part. So I will first talk about learning outcomes on the national level and then work through until course level. And then I have some homework for you, because I was hoping that we would come to Moscow and give you the training, and we wanted to have some interactive training. So there is some of the slides which you can use home when you think about these learning outcomes. So this first part is something that I mentioned already in my first presentation. So there is the government decree on university degrees, and there's the learning outcomes. So I will not read these again because I already mentioned them, but they are quite general, and they aim to produce experts who are able to produce new scientific knowledge. And then for our university's case, so we have the university-wide guidelines for degrees, also for doctoral degrees. It was set in the rector's decision, which was from 2017. So these are actually quite new. So in that document, it says that the learning outcomes of a doctoral degree are the following. So the learning outcomes are, it says that the learning outcomes of a doctoral degree and the graduate's identity as a researcher and as a specialist will be described in the curriculum. So, and the curricula of doctoral programs will be designed in accordance with university-wide policies. So as I already said, that each doctoral program, we have 32 of them, will write their own curriculum, and of course we need to follow these university-wide guidelines. Then the next one is that the education leading to a doctoral degree will provide students with very thorough discipline-specific skills and competence to work or knowledge work. During doctoral education, the doctoral student's identity as an independent academic researcher and specialist will grow and develop further. I would say that this is basically what was already said in the governmental decree, just in a more fancier words. Then we continue. So the next learning outcome is that the discipline-specific competencies provided by a third cycle degree, meaning doctoral degree, will include a comprehensive understanding of the nature of different fields and the most important theories, concepts, and research methods used in them, the relationship between theory and practice, and the applicability of knowledge into practice, and the ability to generate new scientific knowledge. So I also say that this is, again, basically what was said already in the governmental decree, just a little more fancier words put there. And then the last one is that during doctoral education, a doctoral student's ability to engage in critical thought, argumentation, and problem solving will develop further. The studies will also enhance the student's interaction, leadership, and negotiation skills, self-direction, and creativity, as well as skills related to research ethics and sustainable development. And this is a sort of a list of I would say that the most important transferable skills, and as Katja already mentioned, that there are many lists of transferable skills, but here you can see, like for example, as research ethics and sustainable development, leadership, and interaction skills already mentioned. And then, okay, sorry, those one, not the last ones, but then they would continue. A doctoral graduate will have extensive competence in science communication. Doctoral education will develop the students' communication skills so that they will be able to work in demanding multidisciplinary research and specialist positions both in Finland and abroad. And this has already been said by many others, that there is a big emphasis on communication skills. And then also that during the doctoral education, doctoral students will develop the competence expected of a responsible independent researcher and specialist. A holder of a doctoral degree will have the specialist competence to work independently and to engage in multi-professional cooperation. And here I would once again like to mention that these learning outcomes are wrote so that we understand that people will also end up working outside academia. So the aim is that our doctoral degree holders are able to also work outside academia. Then from the university guidelines, I will move to a degree program. I will also use the same doctoral program that my colleagues already used as an example. So it's the doctoral program in atmospheric sciences, which I am coordinating. It's one of the 32 doctoral programs at our university, and it's one of the 7 programs at the Faculty of Science. And then I mentioned that every doctoral program will write their own curriculum. Basically, in practice, this means that the steering group or board, however you would like to, whichever word you would like to use, will write their own curriculum, and we will use the university's guideline as a basis. And so in the curriculum, there's of course the learning outcomes, content, completion measures for each study module and course, and as well as for the program itself. This is a little bit of the bureaucracy. The final decision about the curriculum is made by the faculty council, and at this moment our curricula are valid for 3 years, and it is of course possible to make changes to these if the doctoral program wants to change something, but it has to be approved by the faculty council. Okay, then for the learning outcomes for degree program, this is not all, but this is just something that is different from the university's guidelines. That ATM-DP has stated that in addition to the general learning outcomes stated in the university guidelines, that graduates from the doctoral program in atmospheric sciences have an insight into the contribution of their research field to atmospheric interactions, climate change, and air quality. Due to the multidisciplinary nature of the doctoral program, the doctoral candidate has an extensive network of contacts with many researchers in different fields of atmospheric sciences. So this is the first time that there is something like discipline-specific skills mentioned. And this is what ATM-DP sees that are the most important ones. And of course, if we say that these are the skills that our doctorate, our PhDs will have, the board is of course responsible for ensuring that it offers enough training so that its students actually can acquire these skills when they graduate. So for example, in our curriculum, it says that the students need to complete a course in climate change. They have to complete a joint student seminar with the master's program, and then also they need to complete this multidisciplinary intensive course, which is actually the course that Katja was talking to you earlier. Then for the transferable skills module, so here is the list of the skills that ATM-DP sees that the students have once they complete this transferable skills module. So this is a little bit of, once again, same as in the university-wide guidelines, but maybe written a little bit differently. And once again, if we say that those are the skills that our PhDs will have, we need to make sure that we have enough courses and we provide enough education for them. And I will not go now into this because I will have my next presentation where I will talk more of this transferable skills module. And once again, well, this is only one way of listing transferable skills. And well, we talk about this with Katja, but for example, I said that they are IT skills, but like data analysis and those are really important, but you can argue that are they transferable or are they discipline specific? Then you need to write learning outcomes for each course that you provide. I have here a example of a course in our transferable skills studies module. It's called scientific writing. So for example, that the students, when they think about what kind of courses they would like to have, because we give a lot of flexibility for them to decide what they want to learn, they can go through the learning outcomes of each course and think about, are these things the ones that I want to learn during my PhD? For example, if the student reads this list and sees that, okay, this is something that I really want to master, then the student knows that when they go to this course, they will have these skills. And then, okay, I have some basic guidelines for writing these learning outcomes, but first I have to mention that at our university, we use the theories of constructive alignment and student-centered learning in our teaching. So compared to Katja's presentation, now I will speak from the perspective of one pedagogical theory. This is of course not the only truth. So if you use some other pedagogical theories, you might have some other ideas about this. I will of course speak from my own perspective. So when planning teaching, the planning should start with these learning outcomes, and then of course you need to choose the content for the course that you are teaching, and then everything that happens, the teaching methods that you choose and the assessment methods that you choose need to be in alignment with the learning outcomes. So if you want your students to be able to communicate better, you need to choose the teaching methods that will help the students to learn communication skills. And that the learning outcomes should be precisely defined, clear and concrete, and they should focus on action and not on content. So there are lots of verbs used that students are able to do something, or they can analyze. Students can analyze or apply or those. But I mentioned here that do not use only the word to understand, because to understand is a little bit ambiguous. What does it actually mean? And then there's finally a checklist for planning a course. So what kind of knowledge does the course have? Is it an introductory course or advanced level course? Then you need to choose the content for the course. Is there something in your field which you can skip altogether? What is the most important stuff that the students need to know about the subject that you are teaching? And then what are the learning outcomes? And here is good to think about this from the student's perspective, and then write the learning outcomes precisely, clearly and concretely. And then I promise that I will give you some homework. So I just wrote some questions which you can think in your own institution and in your own university. And then also something that you can go through this presentation and think about my examples, a good example of constructive alignment and the learning outcomes written clearly in my examples. So that was my presentation. If you have questions, please let me know.